Alrighty. Let's see here. Looks like it's just me for now. Okay. Welcome everyone to my 21st Lucid Dreaming Q&A live stream. And I do not believe I have any watchers yet. Let's see if we can fix that. Oh. Yeah, we got some folks commenting. No one's too late. Computer time.
The time is 2:39 p.m.
Hello. All right. Hey, Hookie. Hey, how is everybody doing today? All right, we got some people. StreamYard for some reason isn't showing me how many people are watching right now, so I have no idea how many people I've got. I thought it was just me for a minute. Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to my 21st Lucid Dreaming Q&A for the veterans out there, which are, I think, at least half of you. You know the drill. I take people's lucid dreaming questions. We have a slow mode of 25 seconds. Some basic housekeeping to limit spam because, as a lot of people who actually know me know, one of the things that really annoys me are really short messages with people sending like 1 or 2 word messages. And so this is to help people and to answer questions. And so I keep that in as a general housekeeping procedure. Anyway, welcome everyone. It's been a very long time since I've done one of these, at least a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months maybe. I don't know. School's been keeping me really busy and I just haven't had a ton of time. So I am glad to be back. Yeah, I haven't streamed in a while, Commander Fox. That is true. Yes, this is a Q&A live stream. Go ahead and start asking questions. Well, yes. 8 people. Sweet. Thanks, Vicky. Ooh, sweet. All right, well, let's start getting some questions. That way I don't have a bunch of dead air up here, just me talking and not knowing what to say for a while. J-Fin, that's a new name, I believe. Let me see. How is my internet? Computer time.
It's 2:41 p.m.
Almost a full year. Yeah, you're right, Comet. That it's been a while, hasn't it? A whole damn year, right? A whole dang year. It's been quite a while. Hello, Sino. I don't remember you, but hello and welcome. One Heidi or Heidi, I don't know how you spell Heidi. One Heidi. Hello, welcome. Still haven't gotten any questions yet, so I'm going to go through. Ah, it says I have 12 watching now. Okay, so it's showing again. Good. You're from Discord. Well, hello and welcome. Who are you on Discord? I don't believe I recognize you. Yeah, 12. This is awesome. Let me see. I got my first question here. It comes from hello upside down chair. Comes from Jafin. I haven't started successfully lucid dreaming yet. I think the biggest hurdle is getting into a routine, building momentum. How would you overcome this? Honestly, for me, because this is something I had to overcome about 2 years ago, and occasionally I'll have, some things I have to do, but I've been pretty consistent with practice throughout my 753 days of lucid dreaming. And one of the things I say is like discipline and consistency. Kind of building that routine initially can be a little tough, but it's just like if you're practicing with anything, like you're learning a sport or an instrument. When you start out, you're not going to be that great. When you're just getting started, you're going to be learning. You're going to be, kind of trying to figure it out. You're going to be fumbling over what you're doing. But the more you practice, the more you get into it, the easier I think it would be to build a routine. Use that momentum from the beginning, that excitement you have going in to help you kind of get into that mode of setting some time aside to do this. Start by just setting some time aside each morning and evening. You want to do things like dream journaling, of course, reviewing dreams, setting intentions to remember dreams, dream delving when you wake up, the recall practices, and then lucid dreaming techniques, which you can do before bed and also during wake back to beds, or you can do some stuff during the day. So set aside some time and then just get into a consistent routine of doing this. I mean, it can take some time, but it's one of those things where what you really need are a couple things. In my view, I think you need goals and you need discipline. What do you want to get out of it? For example, if you were learning to play football, for example, you'd probably want to become the starter on the team. You want to be in a starting position, get playing time in the game. Maybe go to college off of it, or get in the NFL. Just thinking about sports. What do you want to get out of it? Maybe you just want to get enjoyment out of it. Maybe you just want to get good at it because you enjoy it. All right. Well, with lucid dreaming, what do you want to get out of it? What are your goals? What do you actually want to do? And then the discipline aspect. And this is really important. Honestly, discipline is more important than motivation, because there are going to be times where you're learning and you're not succeeding and you're thinking that you're just failing at everything, even if you're doing things correctly. And as you're trying to improve on what you're doing, and even if you are doing things correctly, you're basically retraining your brain to do things you haven't done before. And this can take time and effort. And so you may be discouraged if you're going in and practicing, you're not getting a lot of results. And that's where discipline comes in. Discipline means not just doing what you're doing when it's easy. Discipline means doing what you're doing when it's not easy. Going through harder times and actually keeping up with consistent practice, keeping up your routine, because there are results out there that you can get if you actually put the effort in. Let me go catch up. Yeah, Comet. Yeah, I do remember that. It was a long time ago. Didn't I drop that at like 2:30 in the morning? It was a long time ago. That was also when my internet was absolute crap, which it was for most of this year too. What's the viewer record? I think for live, well, for total views, I might have a video that's close to 1,000 now. I need to check. For live stream viewers, I think somewhere near 20. I think I've gotten over 15, somewhere near 20. One Heidi. Okay, I think I have met you on Discord. I don't remember you particularly well. Oh, 13, cool. When did I start lucid dreaming? This is 2:43 p.m. I started lucid dreaming on Thursday, October 15th, 2020. Let me look through. All right, I just wanted to double check a couple things. Ooh, okay. Yeah, but I started lucid dreaming on Thursday, October 15th, 2020. That was 753 days, 752 nights ago. It's been a while. Over 2 years. 2 years and a month, actually. About 25 months. Can you believe it? 25 months, basically, guys. Almost. It's like 2 years and very close to a month. It's crazy. So yeah, it's been a while. And I've been enjoying it ever since I started. Hello, Nas? Yeah, Uwagami, it's been forever since the last stream. Yes. SOWK. Yes, I am back. You had your first lucid dream, though. CRI 27. Yeah, one of the problems with StreamYard is it combines the end of your name with the time, and so it says 2702, but the time is 0240 something, and so your name is CRI 27. But congratulations on your first lucid dream, right? Here's the thing, like, yeah, it may have been short. Yeah, you may have lost lucidity. You still got lucid though, right? And I like to think about the positives. I had a lucid dream today. I had, several dreams recalled, some that weren't recalled particularly vividly or not well in the way of details, but I ended up having a lucid in that mix. and I didn't remember to do a lot of things I'd like to do in a Lucid, but I got Lucid and I enjoyed it. And that is, the take from it. It was a positive experience. It was a good experience, and I'm glad I had it. Skull S the Skulk. Okay, the Skulk. So I have a question. I heard people use not that known text. Are those worse than the regular ones? SSLD, I think you said meant SSLD mild and wild. Or are those harder to do? Well, let's put it this way. People trying to create their own techniques, 99% of those are wild anchors. So the vast majority of those are wild anchors. And the other 1% of those are either A, untested, or just not really well verified, or they're based off of likely flawed fundamentals or things like that. There are a couple things that are out there that are kind of niche, but they're few and far between, to be honest with you. And usually the way you can tell if a technique is decent or not is if a lot of people are doing it and getting results with it. And if there aren't a lot of people doing it, that's probably a good indicator that it may not be something that's pretty well established or something to work with as a beginner. Hi, pleasure, Jathan. Yeah, time zones exist, Mr. Australia. Yeah, it was like 2:40 in the morning for me, I think. How can I remember my goals from during lucid dreaming? Upside down chair. Well, intention, intention, intention. Decide that you're going to remember them. Know what they are. Honestly, if for people who do mild out there, I'm big on mild. There's a huge part of that is actually going through your goals and like going through imagining what you do when you get lucid, and that's where you put your goals in there. If you have things that you want to do, that's where you put them. And thinking about them before bed, setting intentions to remember to do them. Yeah, that's basically how you remember to do goals. That's basically what you do. I wrote them all down. I don't remember what I want to do when I come lucid. I end up flying. Said happens to me, although not the flying part. I'm kind of so at flying. I do it occasionally, and sometimes it's awesome, and sometimes that just doesn't work too well for me. But uh, for me, what you're describing actually happens quite a bit. I get lucid, and then I'm doing something in the moment that's interesting, and I forget what my actual goals were. It happens a lot, but setting intentions really is the way to remember them, and thinking about them more, deciding to do them. And there are times, I have different levels of memory in lucid, so remember different things. And sometimes I just remember things with perfect clarity, and I know exactly what it is that I wanted to do, and then I go and do them. And then there are other times where I'm just caught up in whatever's going on, and it's enjoyable, and so I get lucid. And I do something very opportunistic. Today was flying a ship in Star Wars. I was using a laptop computer on a desk in front of me to fly a starship that I was on, and I was doing something with, I think, ejecting the Emperor out of the ship in an escape pod and calling Coruscant to threaten them about what I was doing with the Emperor. It was funny, and I was flying to Alderaan, so it was pre-Death Star because Alderaan hadn't blown up yet. It was interesting. Have I ever tried SSLD? Do I have tips? I've not really done SSLD. Like maybe once, maybe twice in 753 days. It's not really something I've messed with. I've really never had a need to. Mildest work all from never really had a need to do SSLD, so I've not really done it much. I thought about it, but I haven't really done it a lot. One of the things for me is it takes me a while to fall asleep, and so um, I end up I don't fall asleep quickly. It takes me quite a while, usually like 30, 40 minutes at the beginning of the night. It takes me 20 minutes during the way back to bed to fall asleep. It takes me a while. It really depends on how startled I was when I woke up or the situation, but it can take me a bit to fall asleep. I've not really messed with SSLD much though. Personally, I know how it works. I know how it's supposed to work, but I've not really done much with it myself. Upside down chair. Word of advice. If I haven't gotten to your question yet, it means I haven't gotten to your question yet. Retyping your question is not going to help me get to it faster. I'm blind. I don't read the posts like that. I am reading with a screen reader in order, which means everything that's before that gets read first. And so people who actually repost questions, what that actually is just spam. It doesn't actually help me. Now, if I actually skipped over your question and I'm answering the people after you, then bring it up. But if I haven't answered yours yet and I'm talking about the people's before yours, then don't post it again. It doesn't help. Thank you. I will, but later. I think you meant later. When you say you do dialed, Heidi, what do you mean you do dialed? Like that's a category of techniques. Like, are you talking about dialed hooking? Are you talking about mild? Are you talking about like what are you talking about? What was my darkest lucid dream? I have killed people in lucid dreams. I have shot energy out of my hand, blown up terrorists. I kill people in non-lucid lucids too. I've straight up Avada Kedavra people in non-lucids. Um, let's see what else. Oh yeah, probably the darkest way I killed someone. Like there were a couple ones in lucids where there was like I've never watched the Squid Games thing, but I've heard about it, so I understand a little part of the premise of like having people basically killing each other. And so I was lucid in this scene, and it was like something like that. And I gave the person with me the power to kill everyone around me around us who organized the whole thing and basically just took them all out, like Katniss Everdeen style. Well, not really. It was just like instantaneous, boom, they're all dead. But probably the darkest way I killed someone is I was dealing with some terrorists, and I basically kind of used the force. It was like magic force combo, and like grabbed the guy and threw him through a 60-foot high ceiling, and then yanked him back down through the floor. Um, that's probably the darkest way I've ever you know dealt with somebody in a dream. The guy was a terrorist, but yeah. Let's see. All right, upside down chair. But yeah, basically, yeah, repeating just doesn't help me get to them faster. But yeah, it's all right. Let's see here. Sino, do, do I do a wild anchor without losing focus on it? I either fall asleep without using it, or I focus lightly on it, get distracted by other fault. Oh, dogfish. Okay, that helps me figure out who you are. Well, focus again. Focus really isn't the right term for a wild anchor. You want more passive awareness, noticing that it's there, paying attention to it. Focus kind of implies a more intense level of attention. Like the way I usually hear focus is kind of a central core level of attention to the point where it's almost exclusionary, where that's the only thing you're paying attention to, and it's a high level of attention. That's kind of what focus brings to mind. What you want is passive awareness. You're noticing that it's there. It'd be like if you were listening to a song and you noticed it was playing versus keeping track of all of the lyrics. Now, the level of attention you pay to an anchor, it should honestly be determined by, how hard it is for you to fall asleep. You're balancing falling asleep versus awareness. And so if you find yourself falling asleep really easily, then you pay more attention to your anchor. If you're like me and you find yourself taking a long time to fall asleep, you don't want to be too aware because it can keep you awake. And so it's finding a balance, and that really takes a lot of time and practice and experimentation to kind of figure out either A, what anchor works well for you, or B, like how much attention you're paying to whatever's going on in order to, find that balance. It takes like a bit of practice. I don't. That doesn't explain. Well, dialed means you get lucid in the dream. Like obviously that's a category. But like, what technique are you actually doing? Like what are you actually doing? Like that's a whole category, and there are a lot of techniques in that category. Like what are you actually doing? That's not really clear to me, Heidi. 40 day. Holy crap! Yeah, that's a while. How's your dream recall, Fox? Commander Foxy? How's your Hey, Commander Fox? How's your dream recall? Like how many dreams per night? How much detail are you remembering? What's my weirdest lucid dream? Interesting question. I honestly don't know how to answer that one, because I've had some weird ones. There's some really weird stuff. Um, I've had flamethrowers, fire hoses, done random crap in space. I've had a lot of weird ones. I don't know if I can really answer that. Well, thank you, Nas. Appreciate it. You too, Skulk. What's my favorite tech and why is it my favorite? Mild, for those of you who don't know. The uninitiated. For the uninitiated here, mild is my favorite technique. Why is it my favorite? Because I do it basically every day and I get consistent results every day. And that's about as I really enjoy doing it. I like the whole process of it, of going through a dream and breaking it down and like picking out dream signs, things that don't make sense, and actually imagining what I want to do in a lucid dream. I like that process. It's fun. It's enjoyable. And I get consistent results with it all the time. And that's basically it. Mild's my favorite. Do it all the time, recommend it a lot, and it's probably what I have the most knowledge in. Thank you, Red Slayer. Appreciate it, bro. You don't know what okay, you don't know what techniques you're doing? Have you read Heidi, have you read any like the technique guides and stuff on the Lucid FAQ channel? Oh, that's actually pretty cool, Commander Fox. So you actually are having some like moderate, amount of dreams, but highly detailed. That's actually good. All right, that's good. That's actually a pretty good dream recall. You're just having issues with intention, I take it then. But yeah, that's not bad dream recall at all. So yeah, yeah, go for it. Go for SSLD. See what happens. You tried to. Do you have any questions about any of the techniques, Heidi? Like, this is a Q&A. If you have any questions about any of them, please go ahead and ask. And hey, Alcott. Oh, I remember you. Alcott. Alcat. Yeah, I remember you pretty darn well. We should VC sometime. It's been what, like 5 months since we VC'd? Yeah, we should VC sometime. But yeah, the most interesting thing a dream character has ever said to me. Honestly, again, it's a very good question. I'm thinking about Lucid 153, where I was like with this dream character who was full on meta, who knew I was lucid dreaming, and we were discussing what my dad as a dream character represented, and that was a kind of an interesting conversation. I don't remember all the details because I was from like May of 2021, but that was interesting. I've had some other stuff. I can't remember all the details of every conversation, but dream characters for me are usually really helpful, especially when I'm lucid. Dream characters are very helpful. They help me with dream control. They help me bridge gaps and do things that I sometimes schematically find harder to do. And so I love dream characters. They're awesome. Journaling make a difference on how much I lucid dream in a month? Not really. Now I'm experimenting with a different type of journaling right now. I've gone from doing voice recording, which I normally have done, which I've basically done since April of 2021 until about last week. So a lot of voice recording. To I'm writing them down on my computer now before I go to bed throughout the day. And what I'm trying to do is, take my time doing it instead of trying to do it all at once. And what that's promoting for me at least is trying to recall more specific details, like exact placements of items and objects in relation to each other, and try to improve recall and vividness. Now, I will say for the past several nights, I've had at least 3 or 4 different dreams recalled each night. And, there is a different level of vividity. Vividness was not high on several dreams tonight and last night. There was some decent level of vividness, but when I'm writing them on a computer and take my time doing it, what I find is that I can generally like notice I can kind of pay attention to detail a little bit more. I think about it more, and then I start noting some of those smaller details on like a second pass that I otherwise wouldn't do in a voice recording, because I wouldn't just pause a voice recording and then stop and then go from there. So I'm experimenting with that to see if it affects my recall at all. Journaling really hasn't affected my lucidity rate much. If anything, it's been pretty stable. Honestly, my monthly lucidity rate for the past year basically has been pretty stable. So journaling hasn't really affected that much. What was the weirdest thing I've said to a dream character? Probably I don't know about what I've said, but I've trolled dream characters and I make them tell me that they're dream characters. Sometimes, like just through telepathy, basically. It's really fun. Waking life. Not sure what you meant. Hello, Supernova. Do I think good thoughts are a good thinker? And what do I recommend? Well, honestly, I do like if I don't do wild often. It's very opportunistic, but for me, like imagining a dream scene or imagining movement is kind of what I would do as an anchor. Like imagining repetitive movement can help. I've done that I think a couple times, or imagining some like a dream scene or a specific location to try to incubate. I've done that before. It all depends on how I feel, to be honest with you. But yeah, those are the kind of things I tend to gravitate towards with wild. Thank you, Alcott. And I really appreciate you identifying yourself at the end there, so I know who you are. That's awesome. I appreciate that. That's awesome. That's how touch. It really depends on the person, Skulk, honestly, because some people just have naturally high recall, and journaling doesn't do too much for them. Most people, though, journaling is going to help quite a lot with improving recall and just retaining the information. It really depends on the person, to be honest with you. Some people can stop journaling and not have much in the way of recall loss, and some people, if they stop journaling, they'll lose everything. So it really varies, to be honest with you. How was my 700th Lucid? Well, my 700th Lucid wasn't as good as like my 701st or second, but it was okay. It was decent. I need to go back and double check my lucidity log, but the 700th I think was one that involved, being on a train in a particular location. 702 had me dealing with. Yeah, 702 was decent. I was at like this lake house, and that was the same night, by the way. That was a 3 Lucid night. They were all like kind of lower level, but I was basically like driving an ATV. I'm blind, so I'm driving an ATV and kind of deciding like where the brake and gas are on it, and just like at this lake house, and there's like a driveway, and there's this dirt road, and it called a mud road for some reason, and that's supposedly part of the driveway that you have to turn to get to the front door. And then I kind of like the ATV kind of drives off without me, and then I kind of bring it back with a Harry Potter summoning charm. It's actually pretty funny. So, but yeah, thank you very much, Technically Lucid, for showing up. What's my sleeping schedule like in relation to lucid dreaming? School has helped me get a better sleeping schedule. I usually go to bed sometime between 1 and 3 a.m. Now, the last couple nights haven't been great for that, but usually I go to bed between 1 and 3, sometime usually around 2-ish. On Tuesday mornings, I'm up at 9:30. Tomorrow morning, I'll be up at 10. And most other days, normal Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday, I'm usually up between 11 and 11:30. And so I'm having a relatively consistent waking time. It's just I have radically different start times, throughout the week. Next semester is going to be a lot more consistent. I'm going to have basically the same sleep schedule every day because I won't have any early mornings. So I'll have a lot more consistency next semester. Do I have a favorite thing to do in lucid dreams? Honestly, flying is fun, teleporting is fun. Um, creating places that don't exist is pretty fun. Just exploring the environment or causing something else, some weird crap to happen is kind of fun. Trolling dream characters is fun. Working with dream characters is fun. It really depends, honestly. There's a lot of cool stuff to do. Do I prefer waking life or lucid dreaming more, and which would I choose if I had to live forever? I don't know if I'd want to live forever, but if I had to live forever, it really depends on what I had to do. Like honestly, that's not a choice I would generally choose. I mean, like waking life can really be great sometimes. It can also really suck. And lucid dreaming is really, really awesome. But doing the same things with no actual interpersonal interaction for like say 500 years, I think would get really dull probably after the first 100 years. But now if you combine the two and you had the powers of a lucid dream in real life, that's called being a Q from Star Trek. Q is basically this omnipotent species. And no, I'm not including Picard in this because what Picard did to Q was a disgrace to the entire series and like the entire franchise of Star Trek. And I cannot forgive them for what they did with the Q. The Q were awesome before that, and then they kind of made the Q unawesome. And so yeah. Thanks, Dogfish. Natural BTBs are WBTBs. Natural WBTBs wake up back to beds are awesome. I didn't have to practice at all to get them, so I can't really answer this because I've been waking naturally multiple times throughout the night for I want to say at least 10 years, and they used to annoy me. And then I get into lucid dreaming, and they stopped annoying me because now I could use them, and so I'm not annoyed by them anymore. But I never had to do anything to get them. I'm just a very light sleeper. I never had to do a damn thing to get a natural awakening. But how long would it take? Honestly, practicing consistently with intention, just trying to notice awakenings. Maybe doing it like maybe an awareness type practice sometime. Being more aware of what's going on around you can help with that, I think, and combine that with an intention. I don't know how long it would take, to be honest with you. I've never had to go through that experience myself. I'd say I was bored with it, but I naturally have natural wake back to beds all the time and notice them. How long are my lucids? I don't have multiple per night a lot. For example, the last few nights have actually been really up and down and weird. Like, for example, today I had one. Yesterday I didn't have one. 2 nights ago I had three. I think 3 nights ago I had two. I mean, it goes up and down, and it gets interesting. I had a couple of nights with three this week. Like my lucids this last week have been really interesting. If I had to go and catalog them, like the actual numbers I've had since, like, say, last Tuesday or Wednesday, and it's been interesting. But how long are they? They used to be really short. When I first started, they were in like the 30-second to 2-minute range. And I had a lot of really short ones. I get lucid and just wake up immediately. Pain in the butt. Royal pain in the rear. Now, 3 to 5 minutes on the short end. 3 minutes on the short end. 5 minutes is about average. I'm getting more that are 7 to 10 minutes. Of course, this is all estimation. And I'm getting some over 10 minutes and closer to 15 and some 20, honestly. And it depends. Like, if I only get lucid in part of the dream, they're more likely to be longer. I'm not worried about waking up as much. I get anxious sometimes when I get lucid, and anxiety for me can kind of be a real deal breaker. I don't need to worry about that much. But if I'm in a non-lucid and I get lucid kind of in part of it in the middle or at the end, that can be a much longer dream than other lucids as well. And it kind of fluctuates. I actually noticed something too. Like, I was doing experiments on myself last week with music. I think I did this last Wednesday. Basically, what I was testing was music and time perception. And one thing I learned pretty well is that our memory of time perception can actually be quite skewed. And I think this is probably well established at some point. But for example, I can remember the exact notes of a musical song, of a song that I like, the exact cadence, all of it, the exact tone of voice that was used, and I can replicate it. And I think I can sing it perfectly. And then what I do is I put it to music and turn the volume down so I can't hear the music, and I try to time myself to the music. And I'm almost always slightly faster than the actual music, even though I'm trying to be deliberate in my timing. And so I actually was testing that on myself. And in terms of actual replication of like time perception, in terms of dealing with music for me, is not consistent. And that kind of is interesting because it raised a question of like, well, if you're estimating how long a dream is, how long is it actually? I'm not measuring that with actual equipment. Now, maybe someday it would be kind of interesting to have that studied on me to see like, how long my dreams actually are, but that day isn't now. And I don't know how long my dreams actually are. That's the thing. Like, of course, I don't always recall them perfectly either, and so that's kind of the enigma there, is like, how long are they actually? I remember my first good lucid dream, probably my second one, and it was like my first one. I really wasn't sure if I got lucid at all. It was right at the very end, and then my second one, it was like a series of false awakenings, and it was like with these. It was really funny. It was these like dream scientists doing experiments in my room, and I got lucid, and then I went and talked to them, and then I had a false awakening afterwards. But it was really cool because like one of the first times I ever noticed I was lucid, and I woke up 3 hours earlier than I normally would that day, and was just shouting it to the rooftops. Computer time.
It's 3:12 p.m.
Yeah, I liked him more when he was a big omnipotent troll too, Nas. At least there's somebody here who understands Star Trek. Can I have an air lucid dream? Me, no. Red, I think he has. He's also a natural Omni, and he's really weird. But go ask Red. Ever tried time dilation? No. As long as I ever tried time dilated, never done it. CRI, if you know that you're dreaming while you're dreaming, that's what lucid dreaming is. The actual recall effect, that's recall. If you're not remembering it clearly, like feel like you're present, when you recall it, well, everything is a memory. Like when you recall it, I mean, everything's like a memory. But if you're not recalling it in detail, that's a recall issue. You're not necessarily a presence issue. That's a recall issue. Not remembering the dream clearly, that's pretty much a recall issue. Here's the thing: you can have lower presence lucids. You can have like really high level memory lucids where you're like full on know your memory and know what you want to do and remember all the things you want to do. You can have lucids where you have dream control. You can have lucids where you don't have dream control. You can have lucids where it's really vivid and clear. You can have lucids where it's not vivid, and it depends on recall. Lucid dreaming is just knowing you're dreaming while you're dreaming. That's what lucid dreaming is. If you know you're dreaming, you're lucid. If you don't know you're dreaming, you're not lucid. If I could lucid dream for how many hours I want, does include IRL, and you still wake up in the morning, how many hours or days or weeks would you want to be in the lucid dream? I'd probably want to go for about a month and do a full-on campaign with ZSS Star Horizons and actually take the time to explore my supercarrier. I mean, the thing I've gone to create it, basically I've created all in my head. I visited several times now, but it's all created in my head, and I just when I try to remember to do it, sometimes anxiety just gets in my way and I don't actually make it there. And so I have a lot of failures due to anxiety in terms of trying to actually reach it, not expecting to be able to get where I want to go. And just my associations, like when I'm in a false awakening, my associations in my room just being overpowered. And so last time I was in that situation, I tried to make a hyperspace gate. I tried to teleport out of my room. And what I ended up doing is my room was just so strong in terms of the association that it kept just being, I was trying to force another environment to overlay onto it. And I was failing miserably with that. And so that false awakening environment in my room, I'm going to come up with a more unique way of getting out of my room. Brute forcing my way out isn't the way to go. That's pretty clear for me. Those associations are really strong. So what I need to do is create secondary associations that are linked to those associations. And so they're not completely different. So for example, I don't want to associate Star Horizons with my bedroom. I'm not obviously on that ship if I'm in my room. And if I'm just actively associating with my bedroom, and I'm in a false awakening, I'm not going to get out. But if I associate my bedroom with having features it doesn't have, and those features are transitory. For example, I've created an elevator to space. That was in Lucid Dream 153. And so I take this elevator to space. I'm not in my room anymore. I took an elevator, which goes to another floor, and that took me up to a spaceship, and now I'm on a spaceship. Now I'm out of my room. That's transitory. I'm thinking about creating one of those automatic people movers, those little train systems they have in airports. I'm thinking about creating one of those with an access point on my far wall. And so if I can get onto that, it's transitory. It takes me somewhere that's not my room. And then I'm somewhere else. And then that bedroom association goes away. And when I'm in a place that's associated in terms of not very strongly, I can more easily manipulate that association. I can teleport more easily or get out of a place, or maybe I can guide it to where I want it to go. And so I'm going to try that. That's an experiment I'm going to do next in Dream Control when I have a lucid false awakening. That's something I'm trying to remember to do. Is dream sharing a real thing? Don't think so yet. Like, that hasn't been proven. Hey, Cappuccino, doing quite well. Hope you are well. I remember your old name, by the way. Your old name was like Judah, I think, or something like that. Just Philip, you're late for this question. You're fine. Did he say anything about future work? Not really. They talked about like past work. So like at the symposium, they were talking about papers that like he and Dr. Baird, Benjamin Baird, had been doing stuff with and refuting and working with. And then his presentation that he gave, his keynote, was basically kind of the same thing he's done many times before. And so it was very much an overview type deal. And it wasn't really about the future of what Lucidity Institute specifically was doing. So I didn't get a lot of that from him, unfortunately. All right, I'm not going to answer spam or off-topic question. Adrian Fan 99. Let's see here. Comment actions. Put user in timeout or block user. I don't really want either. I just want to delete your comment. Good or bad. Now, just like with like modern day research and stuff, one of the biggest things, the most important things, is consent. If you consent to having your dream recorded, you are in control of the procedure. It can be a good thing. It can be a really cool thing. It can be great for science. It can be great for personal exploration and enjoyment. It can be great for dream recall. If someone is recording your dreams without your consent and sharing that data without your consent, that's where you're going to have a problem. And so that's very personal information. Just like, dealing with, for example, clinical data. You'd want to treat dream data like clinical data. you're getting very personal information, whether it's like, talking to a therapist or a counselor, getting detailed personal information, or going to a doctor and you have detailed medical records. You don't want anyone just to be able to have access to it. You want to have control over it, and all access to that data has to be done with your consent. No one should be able to record your dreams without your consent. That's an ethics violation. That's a big problem. And so, yeah, if you could 100% record dreams, like fully map out the brain to a point, I think we're getting close to something. We're getting close to being able to map out some really cool stuff with the brain. It would be really, really cool. Yes, it could be really good. It just has to be done correctly. And yes, you're gonna have bad actors who want to abuse that technology. That's the whole premise of Inception, is people being able to go into other people's dreams and like manipulate them. That's abuse of what could be really cool technology. But the whole point is, if you have that capability, what's that quote from Spider-Man? With great power comes great responsibility. When you have that technology and you have capabilities to gather, somewhat invasive information in terms of privacy, you then have a responsibility to use that information in accordance with the wishes of the person who you took it from or you got it from, and to use it responsibly. And so if you are being able to actually record your own dreams, it'd be really cool for dream science, just regardless. But also it'd be cool for just on a consumer level to be able to actually watch or understand your own dreams. But you would have to be in control of that information, because your dreams will contain some very deeply private and personal information about you. And that is kind of information that should be protected, just like, clinical information, like if you're talking to a psychiatrist or a counselor, that information should be protected. And it is by law. If that information is shared outside of, the consent of the person sharing it, then you're going to be in deep trouble. You need to watch Inception. It looks cool. Yeah. Hollywood gets like about 90% of things wrong with Inception, but it's still a cool movie, even though it's basically BS on like half the things they say. Thanks. I would like to hit 100K. It would take a while. I would like to hit 100K though. Alrighty. We are at 321. 42 minutes. And we're down to 9. Let me. Cappuccino 321. Feel like it'd be great for other industries. Imagine how easy it'd be to create billion-dollar movies for free. Now, all the data would have to be interpreted like cinemagraphically, and like with CGI and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the thing is though, it's all about what data is collected. Like you can dream about very deep and personal things, and you don't want to just turn any person's dream into a reality show. That's very insensitive. Now, are you talking about using imagination for movies? Now, this doesn't have to be dreams. Keep in mind, Cappuccino. Basically kind of the same processes we could use for determining what people are dreaming, we could use for imagination. It's already possible to map neural pathways for imagination movement to control things like with electronics. Like EEG technology has already progressed to the point where people can, like, if they move their hand, you can track like the neural pathways that are being used and the signals that are being sent to move something, and you can even examine that with imagined movement and get the same result. And so, yeah, I would say, if you want it to be in a more carefully controlled environment for making a movie, what you'd really be trying to do is map someone's imagination, not their dreams, especially if they aren't lucid and they don't know that they're dreaming, because then they don't really understand what's going on. And that's a pretty important part. I mean, if someone has a really vivid, detailed imagination and they could map that imagination directly into a software and create scenes from it, very powerful stuff. However, that has to be very carefully controlled. That would be kind of cool. I would say I'd pay good money to watch those, but I don't have good money to pay, and so I wouldn't. But that would be kind of cool. But yeah, it really depends on the dream. Again, you gotta, the people who are like, if you want to record your own dreams and do something with that, the person whose dream it is has to be in control. If they're not in control, then you're gonna have some real problems. That would be cool in the future. Actually, I've thought of the more practical applications for brain-computer interfacing instead of just recording dreams. If we get that level of technology, I want the ability to translate data to and from a computer at light speed capability, to be able to transmit and receive data directly into the brain, and basically co-opt sensory inputs to receive data to be able to operate things directly. For example, I think it would be cool to be able to be blind and fly an airplane, for example, just by using mental intention and thoughts and mental commands on the level of like translating speech commands into just thoughts into a computer interface, as well as being able to think about specific types of movements and feel the results like through actual sensory inputs. I'm thinking next level type stuff. And I've already come up with a concept of how you could actually do that if the technology existed, like what it could possibly feel like to feel what it is to be on an airplane, like to be stimulated in a way where you can feel what it is that the plane is feeling. You can access certain data about the airplane, like its heading and its altitudes and all the things that you would normally track if you were flying an airplane. You could just access instantaneously. You could have like a mental instrument board. You just have like little pieces over here, and you have these pieces kind of coming together to form this like model in your head of what the airplane is actually doing. I think that would be the next level. Like the real, like we're talking similar level of being able to translate information, but not only translate information from the brain. Now that's one thing. That's passive. You're basically recording data. The active side would be transmitting data to the brain and actually having that data successfully and correctly incorporated. That's the high end. Like that's the ultimate like two-way version of a brain computer interface, to be able to actually have sensory data translated into the brain. And I think you could use that to do a whole bunch of stuff. Now you could use that for good, or someone who's nefarious probably be using that for evil. The technology would still be really cool. I think it'd be really fun to be able to fly airplanes, for example, but that's just me. Amazing how I go on talking about brain computer interfacing and flying an airplane with my brain, and like everyone else just like really quiet and go like, I don't think I'm going to type anything after that. But yeah, it'd be really cool. There's a lot of cool stuff you could do with this. Let's see. Speaking like Star Trek. Jean-Luc Piscifall. That's hilarious. I'm Captain Jean-Luc Piscifall of the USS Enterprise. Or speaking of Star Trek, Scotty, the android at the bar told me you could show me my old ship. Please specify which ship. It was like her, the Enterprise. Show me the bridge of the Enterprise, you blithering idiot. There have been 5 Federation starships by that name. Please specify by registry number. NCC 1701. No bloody A, B, C, or D. Program complete. That's from Relics. Star Trek Next Generation Season 6 episode Relics. You get the exact episode number, but that's where that came from. Yes, there were 5 starships Enterprise by that point, so it does specify which one. And Scotty was already half drunk and he was mad. It was really funny. Thanks, Dogfish. Have a good one. Thanks for showing up. You guys put a smile on my face today. Really enjoyed being with you guys. Jean-Luc Piscifall. I don't know if I'll get that one out of my head for a while, Cappuccino. That's hilarious. Let's be honest. That's freaking hilarious. Let's see. Let's see where we are on time. 49:05. Okay, I think another 10 minutes. I'll be around about an hour. That's how I usually like to. Oh, we got 5 people. We've really gone down in size now. Any last questions? Like any questions or any thoughts, ideas about anything that I've said or that's been said? Any thoughts about the whole brain computer interface thing, about recording dreams, about that technology, or about lucid dreaming? Any questions about lucid dreaming? Anyone here have any questions? I don't know who are the 5 people that are still watching. I know at least a couple of them are experienced, and so I probably wouldn't have a ton of questions. But anyone has any questions, just let me know. What's my ongoing PR about? Well, when I can get there, the goal is that it is My character is the regent governor of a planet called Zardonia, and that planet is a member of the Intergalactic Federation of Peacekeepers, an obviously intergalactic organization dedicated to stopping or preventing intergalactic and transgalactic military conflict. So preventing wars with devastating weapons that could kill trillions of beings that otherwise can't defend themselves because they're just caught up in this transgalactic or intergalactic conflict. We're talking power scale, like if you see the Iconian War from Star Trek, that's effectively an intergalactic war. The Iconians are power with intergalactic capabilities. They had the ability to jump their Dyson spheres across galaxies, and they acted on a transgalactic level. They were in all four quadrants fighting, and so that would be the kind of power that the IFP would be opposing. And Zardonia was originally colonized as an experiment by the Intergalactic Federation of Peacekeepers for a society to try to develop on an ordered world and use purely biological technology to develop space travel. That's based on the Yuuzhan Vong, by the way. And so Zardonia started as an experiment. And the leader ends up creating a space fleet that mimics typical technology but is like biological in nature. And then they main methods of transportation involve subspace tunneling protocols and basically creating a tunnel through subspace to cross billions of light years in a matter of minutes, as well as hyperspace gates, which is basically similar to a wormhole but a little bit more direct because wormholes can kind of like fluctuate, and depending on how a wormhole is portrayed, you either go directly to another location or you like pass through a thing with nodes and stuff in it. Hyperspace gate is basically a door or a window in space. It connects any 2 points and is completely artificial in nature. It is controlled by the generator of the hyperspace gate. Endpoints can be controlled at will, and it can be used as a method of transportation or as a weapon. And so you can create it and fly through. Our hyperspace gates would be a little bit more limited in terms of range, but not too limited. If you are able to map the actual dimensional multi-dimensional coordinates of your destination and your origin points, they can also be used as weapons. So, for example, you could set a hyperspace gate with one aperture near an enemy ship, another aperture in the core of a sun, and just like eject stellar matter at the enemy ship or into a supernova or a black hole, and it'd be like pulling at the enemy ship's shields or blasting them with supernova radiation energy. And so you could actually use a hyperspace gate as a weapon. And I've actually got some of these ideas from a game that I played that had some background lore. And one of the rules is you never follow an enemy through a hyperspace gate, because if they control the hyperspace gate, they can just go through it and then change the destination so that you end up somewhere more interesting, like a black hole or like sucking vacuum, for example, in outer space. And so that the starship is 50 miles long, 5 miles wide, 500 decks, crews over 2.5 million, with auxiliary craft consisting of 24 Peacekeeper class cruisers, 100 Guardian class escort frigates, 4,800 Protector class starfighters on the carrier. The entire fleet contains 11,760 starfighters. The cruisers are about a mile long each. The frigates are slightly smaller and more round, and they're on the ventral and dorsal surfaces, and the cruisers are on the starboard surfaces, 12 to a side of the ship. It's a super carrier, Titan class super carrier, and it's the flagship of the Zardonian Defense Force. And there's no plumbing, internal wiring, or anything like that on the ship. Everything that is done in terms of energy transference, waste collection, is done through basically creating holes in subspace, basically using hyperspace gates as a method of power transfer and matter transfer. And so there is no plumbing, waste reclamation, replication. All of that is done on a level using hyperspace gates to basically send things from one part of a ship to another. Doors on the ship can be used that way, and the ship also has its own internal transit system that runs throughout the whole length of the ship and the width of the ship as well, on deck 150 specifically. And so I've created this whole like map, like internal map of the ship. I'd love to just be able to spend a lot of time there and just explore it and enjoy it. But basically the goal is that Zardonia was such a success that it got a seat on the Intergalactic Federation of Peacekeepers Council, the Federation Council. And basically they're a leader in stopping and preventing intergalactic wars. And that's sort of the back. I created a whole lore and backstory for it. It's a lot of fun. So I kind of created that. It's just getting there and visiting. That's the problem. But I've created it. It's pretty fun. Any tips for recall improvement? Of course, dream journaling and in detail, as much detail as you can and you have time for, helps. Dream delving immediately when you wake up, whenever you wake up, whether it be a way back to bed or at the end of the night, viewing dreams before bed, and setting intentions to remember dreams. It seems your recall is decent. It can be improved in terms of a little bit of quantity, but the overall quality, from what you described to me, is pretty decent. Should be at 100 people permanently. That's hilarious. Would I fly the plane like a remote control car? Kinda, but a little bit differently. See, the remote control car, you're watching it from a third person perspective. You're not seeing or feeling it. It would be more like it would be less like flying the plane and more like being the plane, if you understand what I'm saying. You have a such intertwined, like, I've created for my PR also is actually where I got the idea of neural interfaces from, of brain interfacing. And I actually created a 5-level scale of brain computer interfacing through my PR. Level 1 is basic data transfer, and is basic data in and out, input output transfer. And so you have very low level data communication, very low level thought transmission. Just basically communicating your thoughts. You may still interact using a touchscreen display or using some other form of display to input data. It's going to be more focused on passive collection instead of receipt of data, like to the brain, more like collecting data from it, and very much more passive, very little in the way of stimulation. And then you'd have a level 2, which is basically a full ability to receive data. So it's very much still conceptual. You're not using much in the way of sensory inputs yet. It's still sending and receiving information, except you don't have to interact at all with any physical system. You're able to communicate. You can send most commands to whatever you're dealing with. I guess in this case, if you're flying a plane or a ship, it'd be like being able to use the autopilot, and not just use the autopilot and tell it what to do, but use the autopilot and know exactly what it's doing, like be able to track specific data points, fish for them and get them. You may not be constantly presented with them. You're not being constantly stimulated, but if you basically ask for a specific data point, you would get it immediately. Level 3, you are being constantly stimulated. You would be getting sensory input constantly. You'd basically be able to feel whatever it is that you're flying, whether in the PR case it's a ship or a starship or an actual airplane. You'd be able to feel it. You would be constantly getting input in terms of the stats that you're monitoring. You could turn certain ones on and off, and then you'd be able to, your actions that you take, pure intention, will be able to manually navigate whatever the vehicle is. And so you'd be able to basically feel like you not just think about specific thought or organized thought of an intention. Like, I want to pitch up 20 degrees. You wouldn't think that. You would actually feel like you were pitching up 20 degrees. And you would actually be able to get the instant feedback of what the aircraft or the ship is actually doing. Then kind of level 4 would be basically like a transition. You're kind of building on level 3, and you're kind of getting into a more, you're getting past the point where basically all of your senses are kind of overridden. You're really, you still feel like yourself in a way, but you aren't getting much at all or anything in the way of actual sensory input. And then like real sensory input, it's all completely overridden by the interface. And the level 5 is you don't feel like yourself anymore. You basically are the ship or the airplane that you're flying or you're controlling. There isn't really much in the way of a distinction. You still have your personality, like your identity, but at that point, your senses are like you don't have any actual like sensory input at all, like that comes in. You're just basically the device that you're working with. It's it's full immersion basically. And so I've kind of created that level of category, and I kind of like thought it out and thought it through. And was thinking about, well, and then I even thought about like finer control in that category of like being able to actually change the level, not just like level in terms of the broad spectrum, but like the actual overall amount of stimulation that you receive, through the interface itself, and being able to calibrate it to whatever you need it for at that time. Like, I've actually given thought to how that stuff could work. Hell, that technology may still be 30 or 40 years down the road, but I've already given thought to how it could be used. That is honestly annoying, and I really don't know why that happens to you, Comment. I wish I did. I honestly wish I knew why every time you do mileage, your recall dies. You're still journaling? Are you doing it, since I was telling you about like trying to journal as much detail as possible throughout the day, and whatever you're doing, because that could probably still help with your recall as well. Though if you're sacrificing recall practices for mild, like if you're not delving or you're not recording dreams, um, that could be an issue. Have you tried tagging as well, like during the night, like maybe doing a voice recording or doing something where you can just tag a couple of things, and then when you go through, you read those tags and you try to record as much as you can about the dreams? That could possibly help you too. I don't know if you've done that or not. They added 10-minute videos. By the grace of the gods of TikTok, of the Chinese Communist Party, we hereby grant you permission to upload 10-minute videos. Now, if you want to get any more detailed than 10 minutes, I am so sorry, but that is not allowed here. TikTok. Yeah, I must agree with the first sentiment from this in that TikTok sucks. Yes, it sucks. It will always suck. Until TikTok isn't basically being run by the Chinese Communist Party, it's going to suck. And so yeah, I don't like short form content anyway. I just don't like short form content. Yeah, that is correct. Cruising comment. I actually missed how to make a port. I actually missed that, Supernova. Sorry. But yeah, it's basically how you would expect to be able to do it. Like what you must strongly associate with a portal. Like if you have a specific franchise or a specific idea of how portals are made. Like say Doctor Strange ring, for example. Like if you found a Doctor Strange ring and you used it to make a portal. Or a portal gun. I mean that kind of thing. If you want to make a portal, like do something that you strongly associate with making portals. And use that association you already have to your advantage. That's my recommendation. Yeah. Yes, there's a lot, Cappuccino. I mean, the whole thing is basic. I created my own lore for it. Like I've got more lore and more in-depth analysis of my PR than I actually have experience in it by a factor of at least 100. I think it's crazy. Yeah, that definitely helps for a lot of people. I've never needed it. I can record I can have like the similar level we call it a waking, like at 1 in the morning and record my dreams then and go to bed. And I do that a lot. But that's not most people. How do you go about manually adding or changing associations? Honestly, I'll do things like a mild exercise. I'll rescript a dream or something. If I want to get it to associate a certain way, I'll rescript it. I'll go through and I'll just think about it over and over. I'll think about it a lot. And then I'll start with like an endpoint. What is it that I want to actually achieve? I've been doing this with trying to get like we're planning for like having a false awakening scenario and getting a train to show up in my room. All right, well I've thought about where exactly I want the door to be. It's on a part of my wall where there are no doors, but I've successfully created doors before, and so I know I can create something there because I already have that association from months of hard work trying to build it. And so I know I can create those doors there. So I just need to imagine them there. And then I came up with a sound I can imagine playing like that, there's a train coming and then it stops and the door opens and I just walk in. And then once I'm actually on the train, I can associate very clearly with those kind of airport style automatic people movers and take a seat. And then it just starts going somewhere. And then I can kind of guide it in the direction I want it to go in terms of another location. And then I can, get it to take me somewhere I want to go. And so there's sort of the thought process to it. Like, but I will say like I start with like a result I want to get, and then I kind of like practice going through it and doing the action I want to take and getting the result I want. That's kind of how I've done it before. See you, Hukif. Adios, Senor Pedro Fernando Zabala Espinoza. Hasta luego. Have a good one. Don't talk important stuff. That's hilarious, Hukif. I think everyone needs to see this, and so anyone who watches this stream will get to see this for a good 5-10 seconds if they make it this far. There we go. I'm recalling Jason last night, getting more and more That's unfortunate. All right, so comment. Are you tagging when you wake up for a wake back to bed comment? Are you tagging dreams? Are you delving when you wake up? Are you doing anything for recall during a wake back to bed? Anything to help you remember dreams later? Even something as simple as doing a quick voice record and going, basic dream events, main plot points, and then you go back and review those and try to journal anything later. Have you done anything like that to help you recall? I mean, because it can't just be a binary that every time you try to do a technique, and it seems like you've maybe created association at this point that you associate doing a technique with losing recall, which could honestly be impacting this too. If you actually developed an association that doing a technique caused you to lose recall, because it seems that you have possibly done this, and I can't say it's 100% responsible, but I also can't rule it out as not being responsible either. And so it's actually kind of important to consider because honestly, in dream journaling, like even if you only remember a vague scene comment, this is actually what I started doing. With what Sensei did, I took his advice to you to heart and started doing it myself. Because if I'm going to recommend other people do this, I might as well try. I guess with this thing, it's something that can be additional to me. So instead of recording the basic details, which I usually did with my voice recordings, it was basic details and it was really quick. I tried to be quick about it because I didn't want to have a bunch of dead air recording and going back through and listening to them. But for example, I instead of just recording, for example, in a dream a couple nights ago, that my professor was in my room at a desk. My professors for one of my classes, I leave names out just in case I ever send this publicly to anyone. I don't want any names or specific locations to be associated with my dream journal entries. I keep them very much de-identified. My actual dream journal entries could be submitted to like publications if they were used because I very much de-identify them. I remove personal information and any identifiers from my dream reports, and so I could actually use those types of the exact way I record my dreams. I could use in a scientific study. Like if I was ever involved in anything like that, which I'd love to be, honestly. But I basically de-identify my dream reports in general with the eye that they could potentially be shared in the future. And so I always have that in mind when I make a dream report that's not specifically private. And so I only record things I would share. But for example, I recorded that the desk was in front of my bed in the direction of where I was facing to the right, up against the wall, the same wall I was talking about where I would put a door. That doesn't exist. And then I started the dream laying down in bed. Now, these are details I wouldn't normally record, but I'm recording them because the more detail I actually record, it can help with vividness and vivid level of detail. And so I can imagine the sensation, all right, of laying in bed, then sitting up, and then getting out of bed and walking across to that desk. And then I was talking to him about something with a course requirement in one of my classes. And then there was a computer on the desk that was more to the left. And then I was feeling around for something. I don't know what I was feeling for, but I was feeling around to the right. And there was a mouse there. Actually, I think I didn't record that bit, but there was a mouse there. I was kind of feeling around to the right, just feeling around for something. I don't even know what I was feeling for. And so, I have this level of detail that I otherwise wouldn't add. For example, in the Star Wars fight dream, or the Star Wars ship dream from last night, I don't remember the whole ship layout. I remember walking through into some door in some room, and Palpatine was involved somewhere on the ship, and there was like an airlock room, and there's like some other door leading out. And then I walked in, and there was a seat at a table with with like a computer keyboard, just like I would be typing on my laptop. And I was attempting to navigate the starship with commands from a mud game that I play called Legends of the Jedi that I've played, and I was attempting to use that to navigate the ship. And I was typing in like calculating for the nav computer to calculate a hyperspace jump to get to Alderaan, and I was typing in Alderaan, and I wanted to jump to Alderaan. And then I wanted to I was going to launch the Emperor out of an escape pod. I wanted to send a message to Coruscant. This was pre-Death Star. And so there was a phone next to me. The phone was directly to my right. It had a standard style keypad on it. I picked up the phone, and I was trying to dial the number to reach Coruscant, and I ended up failing the first time. And I was trying to enter codes to reach them. And so I hung up the phone the first time, and I was lucid during this. So I was worried. I wanted to try to do this before I woke up, and I was kind of anxious a little bit. So I ended up dialing like **00 something pound to get to Coruscant, and then it was connected. And I got one of those automated answering services, and it was acting like reach Ministry of Defense, press 2 to reach this. See, and then it finally said something about like I don't know if it was agriculture or layman. It was like some other ministry or something. Press 1, and I pressed 1 and was trying to be connected. It was like connected to some sort of messaging service. And so I basically left a message saying something about the fact that I was going to launch the Emperor Palpatine out of an escape pod into deep space somewhere, and then basically hung up on them and used the command hyper to engage the hyperdrive to jump to Alderaan. And it was very detailed. Then I was feeling under the desk, and there's a bunch of these buttons, and I was thinking about all these different like things these buttons can do, and like weapon stations on the ship or whatever, some weird stuff. And so I was kind of like just pushing every single button to see if anything happened. And there were like a bunch of them just like right under the level of the desk. It was really weird. And so I'm talking that level of detail. What I just explained to you is a lot of what I'm going to write down later. Talking, the more you think about a dream, you have the very basic plot. I was in a Star Wars style starship. I was flying with a computer. I ejected Emperor Palpatine into space. I called Coruscant and threatened them. Very basic. And then what I described, which is the details of how I actually moved my body in some areas and like what I actually tried to do. And so the level of detail could actually help your recall. It helps me. And like it was helping me recently. I've had like several nights now of like 3+ dreams in a night, and I don't always get that, and I'm really enjoying it. And so like I'll get like anywhere from 1 to 4 in a night, like consistently, but it'll change up and down. But I've gotten consistently over 3 each last couple nights, and I've enjoyed it. Sev, I'm doing quite well. Thank you very much for asking. Appreciate it. 99% short-term content. Yeah, I don't appreciate with that 99% likes because I'm not them. I actually have a brain that enjoys more stimulation. All right. Yes, I just went on for like 10 hours on Dream Recall there. Um, hope you remember that comment on what I just talked about in Dream Recall. a lot, a lot of times I forget other than just thinking about the dream. So like a mini delve, I guess. Still can't remember its association of thought too. So I work on that. But yeah, try tagging. Like if you're able to remember something on your way back to bed, try tagging it and try thinking more about your dreams. And then go back through and try to record as much detail as you physically possibly can, even if it's like a hypothetical of, I'm not really sure what I dreamed about. I may have dreamed about this, and then think about the scene and try to think about where things might have been placed in the scene and things like that. And you never know, that might have actually been something you dreamed about. I've had to do that a few times. It stopped for a while and started back up, but now still have issues. It could be related though, comment, and it could be related to your life as well. Again, never discount variables that you're not considering. I'll give you an example, and I'm going to be very vague on this on purpose because it's something that I'm working on with a friend of mine. But they were having issues with a particular device that they had purchased, and they couldn't get it to work. And they were replacing every single thing on this device. They replaced the device itself. They replaced its auxiliary components that they had with it, and they couldn't get it to work. And this was going on for a couple of weeks, and we're thinking that the device itself was broken. Come to find out, the device uses a USB dongle that plugs into a computer, except this particular person has a newer Mac with USB-C ports. And so I didn't even know until 2 days ago that they had to use an adapter to connect the device to their computer. All right, that was a variable they had not considered through 2 weeks of testing on a device for it, trying to get it to work. They had not considered the variable of this adapter connecting to their computer. And then once they actually attempted to address that variable, it solved the problem. And so this is this is one of those kind of things look, there might be some variables you were discounting or that you're taking for granted and you aren't even actually considering that can be causing problems for you. I just want that to be an example for you. A lucid dream count as of now, Cappuccino, is 703. It's in my Discord name now. Thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a good one. Hello, AC Bones. Astral projection is basically dreaming. I wouldn't say it's lucid dreaming unless you know you're dreaming. How to incubate locations or places you want to start your dream in. Think about it. Set intention to go there. For me, I've done it like as a wild anchor where I've imagined this place I want to spawn in. And I've had some of my favorite wilds with that, but I haven't had a ton of success with it, to be honest with you, because those can be some heavier anchors. And for me, when I've tried that before, there are a lot of times where I've done that and I'll just end up awake, unfortunately. Like not falling asleep, but I've done that before. I've done that on a few occasions now. I've had some of my favorite wilds by direct incubation, and I love the results. I wish I could get back into it more. I really should try more to get back into direct incubation. It's an amazing thing. Honestly, yeah, I think that they say like 4 to 6. It should be okay. That should be fine. On SSLD, the skull, yeah, that should be fine. See you, Seth. Thank you very much. I'm just going to show this up here. You're probably gone already, but just in case you watch this again later, and I'll acknowledge that you were here. Thank you for showing up. Hello, Ridercraft. I have dreamt about lucid dreaming without being lucid, in the sense that I dreamed that I was a person who had like really insane powers thanks to lucid dreaming and was like teleporting or doing some weird stuff. That it was about lucid dreaming, but I wasn't actually lucid. Or like I basically dreamed about telling people about lucid dreaming. But that's in that sense I've dreamed about lucid dreaming. But yeah, that's basically it. We are definitely over an hour. 1:15, 18 guys, an hour 15 minutes. This is awesome for my comeback stream. This is amazing, guys. Any last questions at all before I close up shop? I'll give you guys like a minute to get any last questions in. It's 3:54 or 15:54 hours, United States Eastern Standard Time. Guys, we are back to Eastern Standard Time. The clocks officially went back an hour in the United States last night. We are now back on Standard Time, everyone. Yes, Ridercraft, you are very late. We started an hour and 15 minutes ago. I'm about to end it. I had like 13 people or 14 people at one point. Now we're down to 4. So yeah, you're pretty late. just saying, you're pretty late. Yeah, it's about to end. You can go back and watch the whole thing, Ridercraft. Though I mean, we got into some deep stuff. I of course answered a lot of lucid dreaming questions as I usually do on this, but I ended up describing in detail the persistent realm that I've created and its whole lore and backstory. And I've come up with my own concept for how certain types of brain-computer interfacing could potentially work, even though like I don't have the technical knowledge on it. But I've come up with some concepts on how it could possibly be experienced, and it's really really cool. And so you might want to go and listen to that. But I'm about to end it here in just a minute. Thank you, AC Buds. Have a good one. Kinda knew my answers anyway. Thank you, Comet. Have a good one. When will my next stream be? That's actually a very good question because honestly, with school and all the stuff I've been doing that keeps me busy, I can honestly not answer that just yet. Hopefully soon. Not really Ridercraft, because in order for me to go for an extra 30 minutes, I need to have people around who are going to be asking questions for 30 minutes. Otherwise, it's just me talking. And Dead Space doesn't really suit a Q&A environment. If we had like another 4 or 5 people who wanted to go for an extra 30 minutes, possibly. But I'm getting to the point where people who might want to watch this through at some point won't be able to because it's really long or won't want to. But I can definitely talk to you in private on Discord if you have any questions you want to ask me. But I've been going for an hour and 20 already, so it's been a while. Let me oh yeah, I need to plug my computer back in. 36%. Yeah, these live streams, I keep forgetting these live streams do a number on my computer. So Krish Patel, who? Hello. Yeah, if you guys can get more people to show up, I'll entertain more people. If you guys get more people to show up. Skyfall podcast when someone pays me to do it. If someone wanted to pay me money to do it, I'd do it. But yeah. Yeah, we still only have 4 people. If we had like another 3 or 4 people who wanted to ask questions, I would gladly entertain that. We should get a couple more people in here. Podcast win. Could be cool. I should totally do karaoke sometime, but that'd probably scare everybody away. Time to ping everyone. There is like a legit person in Dream Cafe. I don't know if they're still there, but they were named Everyone, and so you can literally ping everyone. Have a good night, Supernova. Thanks for showing up. I'm not going to answer that question, Ridercraft. This is a very much a PG-13 live stream. So no. Also, I do want to eventually be able to monetize my channel, and you don't monetize your channel by talking about that stuff. So yeah. How important is recall? Dream recall is about as important to lucid dreaming as electricity is to powering your house. I mean, like the dream recall is extremely foundational important. It's like It's like as important as wings are to airplanes. It's a pretty big deal. Being able to remember your dreams, if you can't remember dreams well, you're not going to be able to remember lucids nearly as well either. And I have forgotten many a lucid before, and so I know exactly the feeling. And yeah, dream recall is extremely important. If you don't have a good foundation for dream recall, you're likely not going to do well with lucid dreaming as a whole. It's exceedingly foundationally important. We dream 4 to 6 times a night. That is just counting REM sleep periods. Most vivid dreams tend to happen in REM sleep, that's rapid eye movement sleep. We do dream in all sleep stages. This has actually been scientifically verified. I mean, they did experiments recently within the past couple years where they woke people up like 12 times a night and actually had them recall dreams from basically all of their sleep stages. And they did that to gather data on what types of dreams people are likely to experience in different sleep stages. And so yes, it has been proven that we dream outside of REM sleep, but usually non-REM dreams tend to be harder to recall and a little bit less frequent. REM dreams are very normal. Obviously, we dream about 4 to 6 times a night minimum. They're the most vivid and easiest to recall. They also tend to be more narrative driven and like plot driven, and combine elements for different parts of life and like different areas. Versus like non-REM dreams tend to be more less actually like narrative driven and just be more about recent thoughts and recent things that happened, as well as also tend to not be as vivid. What I normally do when I want to, oh, we got a new person. Hey, what I normally do when I want to have lucid dream mild actually is my go-to. That's what I've been doing now for over 700 days for sure. Like probably over 730 days now. Big fan of mild. Love it. Recommend it to basically everybody. And it's the technique I have the most experience with, the most knowledge of, and that I actually teach the most. 6 people. Woo! We got some more people. Thoughts on dream stabilization. Is it useful or is it just schema? Dream stabilization, what it is misunderstood. All right. If you actually read Exploring the Bold Lucid Dreaming and you read Dr. Stephen LaBerge talking about dream stabilization, it is referenced specifically in terms of if the dream is ending already, not as do this when you get lucid. It is if the dream is ending, here's a way you could possibly prolong it. What has happened with it is in popular parlance, just like with a lot of other misinformation on YouTube and other sites, people have created the association that it is necessary. It's not necessary. And the problem with this association is thinking that it is necessary. It's a term I use a lot in the Discord servers. A lot of people around who have known me will have heard this term, self-fulfilling prophecy. If you think that you have to do a specific action to stabilize a dream, otherwise you will wake up, then you've created an expectation of waking up when you get lucid, and then that actually causes you to wake up when you get lucid. And so while there are things you can do that can help you prolong a dream, it's best if you actually ignore that aspect, because at the end of the day, if you associate getting lucid with waking yourself up, then you're going to create an expectation of waking up when you get lucid, and that will cause you to wake up when you get lucid. It is basic cause and effect, basically. So at the end of the day, if you are noticing like your dream is awake, like if you're noticing your dream is starting to end, like after you've been in it for a while, you could try to, for example, like ground yourself in the dream, your senses, engage your senses more, and see if you can prolong it. But if you think you have to do it when you get lucid, that is a schematic association that is setting you up for failure. And it sets a lot of people up for failure. That is how it is presented on YouTube. And that is why dream stabilization gets basically ripped on a lot by people, because the way it is presented as something that you have to do when you get lucid, and that is just not the case. It was never meant for that. It was meant for if you notice yourself starting to wake up or the dream fading or something, here's something you can possibly do. That's kind of what stabilization was. And so it has been basically corrupted, and just like a lot of things on YouTube have, and it creates this very negative aspect of it, because it is actually taught very incorrectly, and it has to, that teaching has to be corrected. Hello, 4N0 NY. I have no idea who you are. I have no idea who you are. But hello, 4M. I'm just going to call you 4N. Just call you 4N because I have no idea what to call you. A-N-O Anonymous. Anonymous Plo. Anonymous PL. Okay, Anonymous PL. All right, you are weird. You have one of those neat speak names, which is a pain in the butt to read with a screen reader. Thank you for that, and I'm being fully sarcastic here. Schema, yeah. Can crazy recall, such as like 6 full dreams a night alone, can get you lucid? No. There are people who have really, really great dream recall, high level of detail, and struggle to get lucid. I know a couple of those people. I think Foxy, he didn't have like 6 dreams a night recall, but he had like 3 dreams a night recall, and they were detailed, very detailed, and highly vivid dream recall. That alone doesn't get you lucid. That helps you remember when you do get lucid, but it is foundational to get you lucid. Just like, for example, concrete doesn't build a house, but concrete is used as the foundation for the house, and without the foundation, you can't build a house. It's basically like that. Just like wings alone won't make an airplane, but if you have an airplane that doesn't have wings, it's not going to fly. And so that's kind of the association I have with dream recall. Dream recall is very important. It's critically foundational to any lucid dreaming practice. It is not a lucid dreaming practice in itself. It will not get you lucid by itself, but it will make it a lot easier to you to remember lucids. It'll help you to recognize patterns in your dreams. It'll help you to find dream signs of all types in your dreams. It is amazingly useful and extremely important. It is not a catch-all. If you remember all your dreams perfectly, you will get lucid, but it is foundational. You really can't get lucid and do lucidity well without it. Died to 3. Lovely. Have a good one, Comet. And yes, I did come across this. No, I didn't see it, but I came across it. Have a good night. Hello, Extravagant. Yeah, I'm not naturally lucid. Oh, I'm staying. You don't need to stabilize the dream. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're coming in with an expectation that you have to stabilize a dream, then you're actually already falling prey to that bad schematic association. You don't need to stabilize a dream when you get lucid. That's not what that is for. That is basically like saying, it's basically like saying the brakes on your car are for when you start the car. The brakes on the car are for when your car is going out of control and you need to slow down. That's what the brakes are for. The brakes are for you to control your car, to slow your car down. They're not for you to start your car. Oh, if you start your car, if you don't have to put on those brakes and you start your car, it's just going to go out of control and blow up in your face. No, stabilization it's about the dream ending naturally, like at the end of a dream, and trying to prolong the experience. It is not about something you have to do. It is best if you think about it as something that you don't have to do. That is not necessary, because it's not actually something you have to do when you get lucid. What are the best reality checks? I don't really use reality checks. Probably the best ones that are like recommended in terms of like people who actually study lucid dreaming scientifically are the rereading state test, where you like look at some text and look away and look back at it several times. That can be done with any. I actually came up with this like when I was at the International Dream Conference on complex data sets. That can be done with any complex data sets: audio, tactile, visual, any form of complex data set where the information being presented is complex, a picture, text, sound. You can basically do this. I've done this with Braille. I've done this with my phone. I've done this with my Alexa. And so any complex data set could be used for that. And then the Nosepench is decently reliable. That's really it in terms of like reliable ones. Also, there's one called Memory Trace, which I didn't really consider to be a reality check. I just call this criticality, and this is what I recommend the most to people, actually. Think back through your memories since you last thought you wake up to the present moment. Anything out of place, unusual in any way, anything that doesn't make sense, anything anomalous or just weird. For example, your father gets up and does normal daily routine, but does it 3 hours earlier than they ever would on a Sunday. Or you're at your old high school, except you're at your old school and there are people there you've never met. or you shouldn't be there. It doesn't make sense for you to be there. You traveled somewhere and don't know how you got there. You can't remember actually going somewhere, or who you were with, or why you were there. So basically things like that, look for things out of place. And then, once you've gone through that, try to consider whether or not you're actually dreaming. And that's called memory retracing. And that's one I actually recommend. Oh, you're Become Frog. Yeah, I talked to you, I think today or yesterday on here on Discord. Yeah. Hello, Become Froggy. Nice to meet you. Jay with a cube, where can you contact me? I am Skyfall Blind Dreamer on Dream Cafe, Skyfall hash 1146 on Discord. Feel free to reach out to me on Dream Cafe. I tend to answer a lot of lucid dreaming questions. That's sort of my focus. I'm an admin on Dream Cafe. I'm also on Omni Lucid. I'm hyper focused on answering lucid dreaming questions. That's one of my big things. One of the things I enjoy doing the most. And so I'm pretty easy to find on Discord. You can join the Discord servers through the links in the description on the video if you're not already a member. Remember fragments of a ton of dreams, so it's hard to journal. Honestly, what I would do, Cheetah, because sometimes I have fragments like that too, is I would journal the fragments and I would go, I'm not sure if it's connected with another dream. This is as much as I can remember about the fragment. Try to get as much details as you possibly can out of it, like anything you could possibly get, like object placement, where things were in relation to you, things of that nature. Try to be more detailed with it, because honestly, one thing I've learned is from people and just my experience is like the more detailed you are with recall, like that detail tends to breed detail. So like if you were really detailed with how you recall a dream, then you're going to be more detailed with how you remember a dream in the future, and that helps you actually get more vivid dreams and recall them. How do I remember to delve every morning? I keep forgetting to do it whenever I wake up. Intentions really help. You could also try to put a reminder, like if you're waking up with an alarm or something on your phone, you could have like a sticky note reminder or something on your phone that shows up. Like say you have a phone where the alarms are named. If you're waking up with an alarm, you could have the alarm say dream delving on it, and you would have it, and you would know that you're supposed to try to dream delve. It's important to do it as quickly as you possibly can as soon as you wake up, because dream memories tend to, for people who have trouble with recall in particular, the issue with dream memories is encoding. It's been shown that your dream memories don't properly encode for a lot of people, and that encoding is like how they're accessed, how the data is indexed and accessed. And memory works by association. And so what dream delving is designed to do is to basically maximize and utilize how memory works to help you recall dreams. So the reason why you lay in, and this is actually a term I learned a few months ago, it's called state-specific memory. And so you will lay in the sleeping position you woke up in. That sleeping position you're in is associated with what you were just dreaming about, with your most recent dreams. And then basically what you do is you start with the most recent memory you can access. And if you can't find a specific scene, try to think about, okay, what was I doing? What was I seeing? What was I feeling? What was I hearing? What was I smelling? What were my emotions and thoughts? And try to pull up information, pull up a scene. And you start with the most recent stuff first. Why? Because that is the most strongly associated. That is the easiest to encode, easiest to access. Then the way memory works is by association. And so what you're trying to do is associate that last fragment, that last scene, that last memory with other parts of a dream or other dreams entirely. And for people who are good at recall, all you need is a spark of that association, and you can grab the whole dream in just, for me, under 2 seconds. I can get a whole dream recall just with a really small fragment of information. And that association just brings things back very clearly. It doesn't work like that for everyone, but that's why you think backwards and you go through things in reverse, because the memories are associated to each other in the order they happened. And so you go through those memories and you can associate them to other memories and try to recall as much as you can. And then if you sleep in other positions throughout the night, try rolling over into other sleeping positions and doing the same thing and see what happens. Because again, that state-specific, state-dependent memory or state-specific memory, I think it's state-dependent memory. I need to double check that term, but it's basically, memory that's associated to like what you were doing or what you were experiencing, and your sleeping positions associate to your dreams. And it's a really powerful thing. That's kind of why dream delving works the way it does. Yep. Your dreams come randomly, you just know. It's amazing with something else when it's terrible by itself. That's actually pretty funny. All right. I've like officially caught up with all the comments. I swear we're over an hour and a half now. And like all the anchor 135. And there are only 4 people left still. All the anchors, like a lot of the anchors are gone. I just spent like 3 minutes explaining dream, like 5 minutes explaining dream building. Remember, an anonymous player or become froggy or whatever. Remember, keep practicing consistently for at least a month. Consistency is important. Have a good night. Have a good one. All right. I think I'm going to bring this puppy to a close. We've gotten a lot done today. This has been an amazing, amazing hour and a half with all of you guys. And I hope you all have a good one. I've been Skyfall Blind Dreamer. This has been my 21st Lucid Dreaming Q&A. Thank you, everyone. And have a good day, whoever and wherever you may be. Good evening, everyone.